welcome to the Trinity Force Podcast. Yo, it's that Triforce cast beaming straight to your home. Grab a beer so we know Pony drinking alone. Send an email, a quick tweet, just pick up the phone. Leave a message at the beep if you're a creep, watch your tone. Discuss the meta game, patch notes, whatever helps your stats most. Obi-Pon Kenobi is your last hope to snatch gold. So grab your headphones and join in the fun. We'll try and force in some jokes and some cringeworthy puns. Yo, we can make it together, people. Trinity Force Podcast. These boys are second to none. Now that's the end of the intro. It's time we begun.
Hey guys, welcome to the Trinity Force Podcast. My name is Adaponophobia Cogswell. You are listening to episode number 327. I am joined by a great group of guys tonight. Punchinello is here.
Hey everybody.
Cereal Box is here.
What's up?
Brent Talanasty is here.
Hey, what's going on, guys?
You guys having a good day?
Yeah, fantastic.
And part of our community building series, we have special guest Sage Agnosis from Esports Heaven.
Yeah, hey, what's up, everyone?
Welcome to the podcast. Thank you very much for joining us tonight, as we are going to chat with you a little bit about your podcast and all that good stuff. So I hope you're having a good night as well, Sage.
It's pretty good. I don't know times of days anymore. They've been bleeding into each other since the professional season started. I think today's Monday.
It sure is.
Maybe. Oh,
it's,
good.
It's 8 o'clock on a Monday. That's when we go live. You see, we're correct.
It's dark outside, so I know it must be night, and it must be the end of one of those days.
I wish I could say the same, just because it sounds a lot more fun than getting up every morning when it's or going to bed when it's dark and getting up when it's dark. But I guess you're pretty much doing the same thing.
No, it's checking every once in a while, and then I guess it's this time of day now. 5 hours later. That's what happened with my LCS binge yesterday. At least as far as I could tell, I'd wake up, be like, "Oh, did I watch that game? It's still playing. All right."
Yeah.
Oh shit, it's 6 p.m. already.
Some games were kind of like nightmares, like CLG versus Dignitas.
Or CLG versus TSM.
Oh, that was not a nightmare. That was everything I wanted it to be.
Oh my god. That was a nightmare of a game, too. Any game that goes that long. What was the other game that I'm thinking of? Was it Renegades and it was Day One?
Renegades and what? Echo Fox?
Liquid.
Liquid was the hour game.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one.
Only in NA do we get 60-minute games, folks.
No, only in NA do you get a differential between your longest and shortest games of about 45 minutes, and that's fucking insane.
Whoa! In fairness, we have probably the highest level macro team in Immortals playing against the team made like half a month ago with substitutes.
Yeah. No, I mean, no, it's very fair that they got crushed, but. Good God, 18
minute fastest game in the LCS history.
Yeah, I feel like that needs a asterisk because like there's a lot of things changed to the game to allow it to be so fast.
I don't care. I'm so happy to see like just one of those games, and now I don't have to worry about it for a while. You can remember. All right, we had perfect games happen one day in the past, and now.
Well, I was sitting down.
Isn't gonna happen.
The boy and I were sitting down watching LCS. I was teaching him teaching him about League of Legends, and he's asking all me questions, why people are doing this and that. So it's fun to explain to a 9-year-old how the game plays out. And so I'm making dinner, getting ready to settle in for the very last game of the night yesterday, and it's over by the time I'm done doing anything. I'm like, okay. I don't even get to sit down and explain to the kid like the better portion of the game outside of laning.
I mean, that was all that game was laning.
Fair. Yeah.
I was gonna go to bed, and I thought, you know what, I could watch that game tomorrow. I've heard no, you know what, it's like only 10:30. I think I can fit another 18-minute game before I go to sleep and not worry about that lack of sleep. And you know what, it was good enough to put me to sleep because it was so quick and boring.
I don't know. The 60 minutes game put me to sleep more. But hey, we're talking a lot about LCS this episode. Let's talk Sage a little bit. Sage, why don't you explain who you are, who you work for, and what you do?
Well, hi folks. I'm Amanda Stevens. I technically write for Esports Heaven, but I haven't actually done that yet. They quasi-sponsor my podcast, The Analyst Desk. I don't know what you want to know about me.
Well, yeah, I want to know everything. I want to know about the Well, let's start here. Let's talk about the Analyst Desk. What is the Analyst Desk? Because, this is, again, this is the community spotlight series where we are talking to different League of Legends podcasts around here. So I'm sure a lot of people want to know, what is the Analyst Desk and why should I listen to it?
Well, the Analyst Desk is my return to podcasting. I used to do a Magic the Gathering podcast like years ago for a website that I created with a bunch of friends. And I kept saying to myself, like, oh, I know how to podcast. There isn't that many League of Legends podcasts. Like, there's the Trinity Force podcast network, and there's Low Elo, and there's Just Okay Gamers, and that's it. And like Low Elo had stopped recording, like as of like
February
November-ish.
of last year.
Yeah,
Maybe
like February of
something.
last year. My podcast queue got a little bit smaller, and I got a little bit sadder. And I kept saying, like, I could do a League of Legends podcast. I know a lot about the game. I know a lot of people who are smart about the game. And I kept saying I could do this. I could do this. And then it got to be Worlds, and I was like, welp, if I don't, like, fucking do it now, then when am I going to do it? So I contacted Redshirt King on Twitter, who does his podcast, the Less Than Legends, and I forget what the other one's called, but he does 2 podcasts for Unicorn, the betting site. And I contacted James Obscurica Chen from PC Gamer, who now works for the Score Esports, and I forget who else was on the first episode. Oh, Emily Rand from the Score, and was like, hey, we're gonna do the quarterfinals. Like, we're just gonna go over all the matchups. And that's how it started, and that's kind of what the show is about, is just going over matchups. And that's really it. There's like, I don't know how to sell the show to people, because it's like, if you like listening to people talk intelligently about matchups as if you're watching an Analyst Desk, like during any sports broadcast or anything, then it's your type of show. If you don't like hearing people talk without memeing and without rambling, then the show's not for you.
I guess we're doing something wrong. We don't have a lot of memes on this show.
No rambling.
There is a lot of rambling.
There's tons of that.
Just some rambling, yeah.
A lot of a complaint that I've always had of like watching a lot of esports coverage of League that isn't the LCS broadcast is that it turns into ramble fests. Like notoriously on shows like Korea Talk, China Talk, even Summoning Insight with Thorin and Richard Lewis. I mean, not Richard Lewis, Monte Cristo. Like those shows.
That's Thorin, though. I mean, God. Anyway,
Yeah,
continue.
but, like,
I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, it's fine. It's just that like when you like try to like take esports seriously, and especially like I have a background in journalism, so it's really hard for me to watch these programs because it's like unorganized. And when I've had people from like China Talk or Korea Talk or from other like different YouTube shows for League of Legends, they see how I have like show notes written out ahead of time, and they're like, oh wow, this is way more organized than all of our episodes put together.
I wonder what
so
that's like.
Yeah.
Wow, you're not winging it?
Like I can show you guys in the Skype chat like what my like we're recording episode 7 tomorrow, where we're going over week 2 NA LCS. So like we're going over TSM versus Immortals, CLG versus C9, and Renegades versus Dignitas. And like I have this whole script written out, and like because I'm the host, so I have to be on point.
Getting thrown under the bus here. No, the
trade hosts.
I'm sorry, guys.
No, we're making jokes because we used to be, for the first like 250 episodes, we were pretty organized, like big giant notes, and we were doing them all during the day. And then somewhere between when Dom left, we just stopped doing show notes, and we started winging all the podcasts. Yet they still somehow work out. So
well, I feel
we go
like
along with it.
you guys are at that like proper threshold, right? Like
Right.
the weakness of my show compared to like a show like yours is that I consistently change hosts, like guests.
That does hurt.
Like I can't build like there's maybe 3 people who I could do the show with, who have been on before, who I could easily just like, since they've been on, I can just go, that's how this person wants the question handed off to them. Or this person's really good about macro questions, or I shouldn't talk about this region because that's not that person's strong suit. But since I think that it's interesting to the listeners to have like different guests on consistently to sort of get different perspectives, I can't, I probably will never get to a point where I can just sort of not do notes. I could get 300 episodes in and still be like, crap, I need to like write out notes again.
Well, with the LCS or just any professional esports, you need to have notes. You need to have taken your ideas and put them on paper so you can reference them later, especially like game times and deaths and all this. I mean, we have the LCS rundown, which is they've become in the last month have become substantially more organized than previous, and it's all because they started doing that exactly. They started taking notes. They started jotting all their ideas and making sure everybody's watching certain games. You get the idea.
Yeah.
On the topic of the LCS, like, another thing that happens if you're not organized is people tend to focus like really hard on one game, and then you lose track of time, and you talked about that one game for an hour, and like, oh, we didn't talk about any of the other games.
Yeah.
Yeah, we fell victim to that. We fell victim to that a lot of times when I was on the rundown. Which probably is a good portion of my fault, but
Wine box Saturday, Mitch.
I don't know what you're talking about. But
or Monday box, Mitch.
I really liked the what you're talking about with the kind of riffing that starts happening after a while, though, with some of the I guess the group of people you cast with frequently. Because like I think after we started using like an internal IRC, we chat a lot more. There's been a lot more, I don't know, not community building just within the network, but also just trying to branch it out more with who gets to talk to who. And I think that's helped a lot whenever we've come onto these, and I hope that'll evolve for you too. Like I love just being able to talk random shit and it'll somehow come together into something, regardless of what the content is. But then the content usually ends up being pretty good.
Don't let him fool you. He likes to harass me throughout the day.
Yeah, that's really what it is. I get to poke the bear the entire day, and it's like, oh, we get the podcast now.
Yeah, I mean, for me, because just it's a little bit more professional of a show. It's I mainly talk to a lot of the hosts on Twitter a lot. Some of them chill in my Discord channel. So I do have like a decent friendship with most of my hosts. Like, there's only been 2 people on my show so far that like I haven't talked to before the show, and that was having Glebe on for episode 5 and Rapid Casting for episode 6. Like, literally, Rapid Casting saw that I was talking about doing an episode for the Japanese League, and he was like, hey, if you're going to do that, hit me up. And then I didn't have a host for the off-season roster episode, so I was like, hey, Reed, how much do you know about NA and EU? He was like, a decent amount. Ended up on the show. And then Glebe, since I wanted to talk about the changes to vision and macro play, I figured I literally asked a bunch of different LCS and former LCS supports if they want to be on the show, and Glebe was pretty down to be on.
I think I'm gonna need to tap you for that Glebe, so I can get him on for our Champion Select show. If he's down to do podcasting, let's get him in.
A lot of the Ember guys are really down to be on shows. So like Glebe, Glebe, Solo.
Make note, Serial.
You don't think I'm not right now?
Golden Glue. Golden Glue's pretty down. The only thing to be aware is that I know that Ember's in like a minor social media blackout right now. Because as you know, they like drew massive social media attention thanks to Bao talking about salaries. So I know last I spoke to Bao that the team's in like a minor couple week social media blackout, but he said that if you talk to the players and the players want to do something, that they're always down for them to do what the players want to do.
So phone numbers and addresses, please, right now. Skype chat. That's on the podcast, so everyone knows what they are.
Live.
So I know that this is public information, but Golden Glue and Glebe have open DMs.
Oh, cool.
So I don't know. I know some of the other players. I know a lot of players that have open DMs, but I know that not all of that is public. But I do know that Glebe and Golden Glue are public about their DMs being open.
I didn't know that.
I know. I've loved talking to some. Like we had Latman on for a couple episodes.
Pretty cool.
He's really nice to talk to. I've always liked finding those ones that are really smart about the game, but also can talk about it just flawlessly. And it's been so easy when you get those kind of characters on. I think Foxdrop was another one that we had on that was amazing.
Foxdrop just broke my heart today.
Oh, I know.
Oh no, I'm sorry. Wait. Oh yeah.
You didn't see that big post of his?
I did. Yeah.
I literally was like, oh, I'm gonna turn on Facebook, and then someone shared it because I didn't realize I wasn't following Foxdrop on Facebook, except I was following him everywhere else, and I didn't see it yet. And I'm reading this thing, and I'm like, oh, maybe Foxdrop's taking a break. And then I'm like reading, and I'm like, oh, my heart. It's in like 500 pieces.
Yeah,
I think we can go back to sleep now.
Yeah, if you didn't catch it, Foxdrop is taking a break for a little bit because what's the TLDR? He was helping somebody out who succumbed to cancer, and it broke his heart essentially because he got really close with the person.
Yeah.
So that unfortunate for him, and especially unfortunate for the family and the person who's passed away. So that if I don't want to leave any of our listeners and like what's going on with Foxdrop?
Yeah, I probably should have TLDR'd that when I brought it up, but you brought up Foxdrop, and I was like, oh, pang in the heart.
You're right in the feels.
It was clearly in the back of my heart too, and remembered that.
So
yeah.
What is there a reason that for the Analyst Desk that you don't have a set more than just you on the podcast? Because I think one of the biggest selling points of podcasts is personalities. People get to know that you have a lot of great information, but that supplements your jokes or the other pieces of your personality that really bring people in. Is there some reason that you're not incorporating other people into the podcast week by week?
So it's two-pronged. One, I want to practice my desk hosting skills. Like, if this podcast takes off, like it's doing fairly well, that's great. But like it's actually just sort of like me working on a skill set that I want to work on. And I know that when I do things publicly, it drives me to keep up with it. So like when I started article writing, when I first started writing about Magic the Gathering, I was like, oh, well, if I write for a Magic website, then I kind of can't slack off on it. If I just write it for like my live journal, then who cares, right? But if I'm writing for an actual website, I have to do it because people are expecting the new articles. It's the same thing with the Analyst Desk. I want to practice my ability to be an on-air personality, and the only way I can do that consistently for myself is by having people on and doing it as a podcast. The reason why I rotate is that for the type of people that I want to have on the desk, like people who are analysts or journalists or former pros or current pros, is that people's schedules are really difficult to mash up. I had Weldon on, and it was supposed to be a 2-part. It was going to be how do you prevent tilt in solo queue, and then how does tilt affect professional teams. And the reason we couldn't do the second part is because we couldn't align 3 different time zones.
Huh.
So that just kind of highlighted the problem of like, for example, I've had Michael Veteran Archer on, who's now the lead analyst for H2K. He can't be on infinite episodes of a podcast because there's things like scrims and VOD research. Other people have articles they have to do. And so while during Worlds it's really easy that I could have just stuck to the same cast over and over again, during the professional season, since a lot of the people who I want to work with are active journalists, active analysts, they can't make that time commitment to every week have a specific day open because they never know like what they have to do article wise, what their commitments are to like, their paid jobs, since the Analyst Desk is free 99.
Mm-hmm.
So
right. No, I understand. I was always curious about that because I know it's been a total rotating door of guests that is coming out every single
We've
episode.
only had 2 people out of the 15 guests, only 2 of them have been on more than once.
It's a different type of show, but I do like the rotating guests, like you said earlier, the rotating personalities. I feel like as a podcast listener, like Radiolab kind of does something like that, where they have the 2 hosts that are on every episode, but the hosts don't do the majority of the talking. They just bring on a guest, and that guest tells a story or, talks about whatever the topic is for that show, and it works really well.
Yeah, I hope that it works well for the Analyst Desk. Like, I've heard decent feedback. A lot of the feedback that I've heard that's, like, not optimal is, like, me working on my ability to hand off questions to people and my delivery skills, and then just, like, audio issues. And that's because even though I went to school for journalism, I did not go for broadcast. So editing is not my forte.
Yeah, one of the things that we always tell people with these is that if we have a guest on, you can't complain to us about audio quality. That's not us, like the normal people on the show, because anybody part of the network is automatically receiving some kind of microphone if your name is not Talanasty. So
We don't know where he lives, so it just doesn't
so
work
what you're
out.
saying is that the Analyst Desk needs to join the Trinity Force
But
podcast?
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's right. No, what I'm
Comes with
saying,
a
what I'm
free
saying is like,
microphone.
what so I'll tell you. I'll give you, since it's fun giving tips and whatnot. Something I learned when I first started doing this, right? Like back in the day, you're a startup, and we all started from somewhere. We didn't have microphones, or one of us had like a really good condenser microphone. The rest had just headsets and whatnot. And something that I'd always learned is as long as the host has a really good microphone and they're able to pass off the questions really well, people will forgive the guests for having poor audio quality because they come to expect the host to sound the best out of the entire group. And that's kind of like, and it always worked out for us. And then as we continued to be able to, either buy our own microphones or not, it got better. But I wouldn't stress too much about audio quality is what I'm coming and trying to say. As long as you don't sound like there's like a dryer running in the background constantly.
Yeah, no, that's not the type of complaints we've been getting. And like, I'm pretty blessed that no one's really come at me and been like, this show is trash. Some people don't like the name. They think like, oh, you're stealing from Riot. And I'm like, actually, the term Analyst Desk is just like a sports term.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like it's
When I
sports in general
first launched the show during World, somebody was like, "Oh, well, why are you calling it the Analyst Desk? Like, why don't you try to be a little bit more original?" And I was like, because this is what the show's about. Like, I like the idea of having a show that's named something that people don't have to like mentally process what it's about."
Self-explanatory, yeah.
You stole the
like-
trademark from sports, though. Sports has a trademark on that.
Sports.
It's
Yeah,
just sports.
ESPN's
Sports.
gonna go
The
after you.
entity sports.
The handball. Oh God. So what's for the future for the Analyst Test then? Like what's next up? You said you have an episode coming out here. What did you say? Episode 7, 8 coming out here in the next week or so. What are we looking forward toward the future? Are we trying to make it every week? Are we trying to?
It's currently a
what is
weekly
going on?
podcast. Right now, the way I'm doing it is it's plotted out all the way through April, I think is how far I have the guests lined up. And most of the show notes are kind of roughly built because it's rotating on regions. So like this week is NALCS week 2, next week is EU LCS week 3, week after that is the corresponding LCK week, week after that is the LPL week. In there somewhere, I'm teaming up with a streamer and the guys from Tower Dive to do a league for dummies. Sort of, I did an article for a website I used to write for called Decoding the Casters, where I basically talked about basic terms that you hear when you listen to a broadcast. So what's an ADC? What's rotation mean? What's macro play? What's dragon? What's baron? What's this and that and so forth. So I picked people who have sort of a fun personality because I still want the show to be also accessible to newer people. And by peppering in these sort of episodes that are geared towards solo play, kind of allows people to kind of catch up with the main show.
Yeah, so you can jump in at any point in time and listen to someone's breakdown or listen or follow their favorite personality through.
Pepper in some of the foundations and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. And then because I like creating content, I will be starting a new show starting mid-February called Stack Deck. I let people straw poll. I gave them like 15 show names. That's the one that won. And it's an esports interview show. It's not just League of Legends. The first interview was going to be Bryce Esports Law Blum. He's kind of been the big lawyer of the scene recently. He's going to be on. And then I have one other person I'm allowed to talk about, and that's Justin Wong, for those of you that follow fighting games.
Oh, yeah.
Adam does not like fighting games at all because he's bad at them.
Don't like it, no.
And then I have a third guest that I'm working on that I'm not allowed to talk about yet.
The only person from the fighting game community I'd like to interview is Gutek, so I could shit on him for an hour. And not for being, and primarily for being, I'm gonna get fucking shit for this, for primarily being fucking terrible at the game. Gutex, your evil Ryu combo sucks. The only guy
where's this rage coming from?
The only guy who
That's
uses
so much rage for someone who doesn't play fighting games.
Oh, I play.
No, he plays.
I play a lot of them.
He doesn't. I was trying to stunt him before he got off on like just a total tangent, and it happened anyways.
Fucking Gutek's the only guy who could use red focus in the middle of a combo for the least amount of damage you could possibly do, and he could just have ADC into whatever. Sorry.
By the way, it's
That's what I'm saying.
It's Gotex, not Gutex.
I don't give a fuck what his name is.
Wrecked.
Remember when we were talking about rambling?
What? Wait, how is it Gotex when Mike Ross in all the episodes says Gutex?
I think it's to tilt him because I've only ever heard other people call him Gotex.
I don't know.
I could be wrong.
I
don't-
only
Tyler,
ever
that's
heard
what we're
Mike
doing
Ross
with you.
call him Gutex, so I don't know. And Mike Ross, the only guy who can hold fourth place. That dude holds that down. He is the gatekeeper to fourth place. We're going right in here. I could talk about fucking fighting games all night. Let's go.
This is our Evo podcast where we cover Evo like from 5 months ago.
Do you want to talk
or whenever-
Smash? We can talk about yesterday's Smash tournament.
Oh
over
god,
in
I didn't
G3.
watch it yet. Shush. I like know what happened, but I still need to watch it. I'm also interviewing CLG Red, their female CS:GO team.
Okay.
So like that's what
Don't they have
I
sealed?
just-
They have two, right? Black and red.
they have CLG. No, the regular the main CLG CS:GO roster is just CLG. It's just like CLG CS:GO. And CLG Red is the girls team that I don't want to say girls, the all women team
Mm-hmm.
that they added to the brand, and they're actually a pretty solid team.
I've caught a couple of their streams. I don't know anything about CS:GO, so I can't really.
I don't
say
know
too
anything
much.
about CS:GO either. I accidentally memed my Lexia at PAX Prime because I saw somebody walk by in a CLG hoodie, and I was like, I just like complimented CLG and said something about Xsmithy and ults, and my Lexia turns around and he's like, "Yeah, I was there." He's like, "I'm their COO," and I was like, "Oh."
Well, nice to meet you. Here's my business card. Let's talk.
And I was like, "Hey," and I just kind of introduced myself. We talked for like 5-10 minutes, and then I was like, "Hey, I'd really like to interview CLG Red," and he was like, "Yeah, just email Matcom and tell him that I said it was okay." And I was like, "Wait, it's gonna be that simple?" And he was like, "Yeah, it's gonna be that simple." I was like, "Well then, networking is easy."
Yeah, as long as you're willing to shake hands and have a smile on your face. Most people are
It helps
pretty good
that
at
I'm a CLG fan and that I had a CLG phone case at the time.
Oh,
but,
there
you know.
you go. All right, so let's do this because I want to put you on the spot for the
Sure.
for the remainder of the
He
few minutes
loves
of
the
the episode.
spots.
I do it.
Excited.
Let's
Tom.
let's talk about your favorite game because I want people to kind of get an idea what's going on with the Analyst Desk. Let's talk about your favorite game from this last week, the LCS. And hopefully it's one that's
LCS.
yes, because I want Serial to get in on this conversation because I know he's been watching the LCS as well. He gives me that look. Yeah.
I watch them play the League of Legends occasionally, but not.
We
wanna
could talk
about the
LPL
TSM
MS.
Team Liquid matchup. Because I'm friends with Jacob Wolf, and a lot of people gave him shit as they always do. But this time for his power rankings article, where he put Team Liquid at 9th, and a lot of people got butthurt about it. His article got like downvoted into oblivion in like an hour on Reddit because he put Team Liquid at 9th. So here's a few things. That Team Liquid roster isn't that great right now. Phoenix is mediocre. Piglet can't carry all 9 players on that roster. I Will Dominate doesn't seem like he wants to play League of Legends anymore. Like he doesn't even live in the Liquid house.
Well, you did in the second game.
The second game, you mean the second game that Dardoch played in?
Yeah. I mean, he didn't even play the second game.
Yeah. Like Smoothie's not a great support. Matt is moderately better, maybe. Like he hasn't had a lot of like challenger organized play. Like he's just always been a fairly high elo challenger player. So like going into this game, I was like, all right, this should be a really easy game for TSM, and it's, you know, Dream Team, Alliance Gaming style roster to just like Rafflecopter, right? Like that's the storyline that should be there. And instead, Liquid pretty much dumpstered them for most of the game until they like misplayed 1.5 team fights, and TSM was able to like take that game back and win. Which says a lot of things. One, the TSM roster is not that coordinated. Svenskaren's not playing the early aggressive game that we expect him to be playing, and Hanser's still Hanser from Gravity, and at least I don't know.
I was not
Like-
impressed with some of Yellow Star's stuff that game because I know Bardolt is not the easiest thing to not screw over your own team with, but I think they could have won that game way earlier. But yeah,
I don't think that's true. I think
if Yellow Star had played it better, like he had a bunch of ults that just did nothing when could be a very easy game-changing ult in those mid-game fights.
So I think that part of the problem is that TSM was losing that game straight off of the early game from repeated ganks on Double Lift, right? Double Lift played Ezreal that game.
Mm-hmm. You did.
Yeah. So remember, regions bleeding into themselves because I've watched them. I've watched like straight hours and hours of League of Legends. So like Liquid did a very smart thing of like shutting down Double Lift. Hanser's not going to carry that game, at all, and Phoenix was doing pretty good in the mid lane versus Bjergsen. So like all you have to do is shut down the other carry since Svenskaren's definitely not showing up in the jungle, and they had like a really well thought out strategy to win. I don't think there was a time in the mid game that TSM ever looked really, really strong, and I don't think putting blame on Yellow Star's like lack of use of Bardolt / like misuse of Bardolt really sums up how that game actually went.
I'm not saying it's the only thing that happened, but that was the one that was very noticeable because you can see that. Well, it was very noticeable to I think everybody, but yeah, they needed to play that game so much better they lucked into Season 6 Death Timers just crushing Team Liquid on a weird play by Phoenix.
Yeah, you mean the sombrero?
Yeah.
So like I think the biggest problem with that game is and it's classic Yellow Star in a sense. Yellow Star is very self-confident. To the same degree that a lot of Korean players are, and almost every region kind of thinks that NA is the retirement home. You can listen to Yellow Star talk about, like, I picked a team that I thought could go to Worlds, which is kind of fair. TSM is one of the few teams that's gone to every Worlds. Mm-hmm. They haven't missed one yet. They haven't done as well as Fnatic at every Worlds, but they've gone to every Worlds. So that's there at least. But at the same time, like, why pick Bard? Like, that was definitely not a game where Bard was, like, an optimal support. And I know that that's kind of been Yellow Star's flair towards the end of the summer 2015 split of like picking these like I can beat you in lane with every support, starting with the Trundle support and just like everything else he wanted to pick. But like I don't think that Bard was the correct play. Like Bard doesn't.
I don't know if it's Bard though, because to be fair, Bard right now is to the change of his kit in 6-1, which they're playing on with the 25 meeps when you pick them up, the 25 times you're doing a slow, an AOE slow on them. The amount of CC besides damage that you're bringing into the kit, especially on a professional level, with somebody that can move your team around, somebody that can disable the team, somebody who can bring multiple levels of CC to any kind of fight, can change the outcome much more effectively than somebody who's like, let's say Alistar. Your entire role is either protect the carry or dive in and start a fight, right? But Bard has so many different options you can play, and it's just a really hard character to play because you have to make the right choice in the middle of a team fight, or you screw up the entire flow of the way the fight goes. And yeah, I don't know if you can necessarily fault the Bard pick as so much as the way that Yellow Star is playing, because I feel like just watching Yellow Star play, he's kind of phoned it in this season so far.
Well, if TSM is struggling with coordination anyways, I think the Bard pick probably is pretty poor. I mean, they did replace full people.
So let's look
it's
at
going
this
to take
team
time.
Quick. Like, let's just look at the team comp they played. They played Tahm Kench top, Rek'Sai jungle, Syndra, Ezreal, and Bard into
Gnar, Elise, Orianna, Lucian, and Alistar.
All right, so like let's think about a few things here. We're on a patch where Bard slows aren't as impactful because like if you're not mid lane, you probably should be building either Lucidity or Swifties, which has the 25% reduced slows. So like. Second of all, like you have 3 really strong hard engaged champions, which unless you 100% have Bard open, Bard does very little against the hard engage. You can technically stun Alistar in like mid headbutt, but like that's really, really difficult to pull off. You can't stun Elise while she's repelling, and you can't stun Gnar mid-hop into, or crunch into Gnar. So like a Janna would have been really good, a Morgana would have been really good. Bard just seems like the very cocky pick into this team comp. So I am going to put a lot of pressure on Yellowstar picking that Bard, because yes, he went 0-5 and 10, which is like, considering how that game was going and the fact that they won, like, sure, that's fine. But just like considering the type of like game that was played and how that game went for them, and the fact that literally if Phoenix hadn't like sombreroed that ult and lost them that mid-game team fight, well, I can't even call it mid-game because it was like something like 45-second death timers. I don't see TSM winning that game. Like, there was no reason for TSM to win that game.
We're just running down the team comp. There's no reason for TSM to win that game because that's a pick and isolation comp, 100%. You pick and you snowball off it into a team that's full on. There is no other pick in Alistar besides Janna at that point. If you pick Janna, you have no extra damage in the team. I mean, Tom Kench doesn't do that much damage. He's just unkillable, and you know, he's unkillable disrupting your team. What else did you say that was in there? Ezreal's kiting and just picking.
They have a lot of disengage
Bard.
though.
Yeah, it's just disengage.
Bard and Ezreal and Syndra just disengage.
The problem is that
Syndra's pick and blow up, and once she's blown her combo, she doesn't really do too much after that.
Yeah, but like one of the things is like I have to look it up again, but Syndra's stun isn't like on the world's best cooldown. So like if you've disengaged Syndra, then like you have a problem if you want to turn the fight back around, right? Mm-hmm. It's just that like, and I had this conversation with somebody on Twitter. Hard engage has disengage comps have a little bit of a problem with hard engage comps where champions have blink effects to get to the enemy champions, right? Like, for example, Janna's really good at disengage, but champions like Lissandra and Elise make it very difficult for Janna to peel them, right?
Yeah, they go over it or just
they go over it because of the blink factor. Yeah. It's the same thing for Yellowstar. Like, I just feel that like a Morgana or a Janna is way better into this team comp than a Bard. I feel like Bard's the style pick, right? Like Bard technically, I forget if it was Jat or Papa Smitty. Somebody said recently during one of the casts that Bard kind of fits the new Thresh slot.
That was Jat. Jat said. I remember hearing that and liking.
Yeah, and I agree with him that Bard is this now all-purpose utility. He doesn't have the shield, but he has the heal. He has the magical journey. He has this really great engage, disengage ult that is his ult. And so he fits this new safe blind pick.
Yeah, but they picked it last.
But they picked it last into a comp that Bard that you have to be playing like 10 out of 10. Like, I feel like he made his job way harder than it needed to be.
I'll give you that. So this is why I agree with you with show notes. It helps out quite a bit because I was defending the Bard, but after looking over picks, bans, and all that, once you get to the end, if you're last picking Bard into that team, again, yeah, I agree with you. It's a style pick.
Do you think it's because they just wanted to win lane and Bard has a lot of really early game poke, help get double it rolling?
But see, we're in a lane swap meta, so like, what's the win lane factor, right? Like like if you talk to anybody, like on episode 5 of my podcast, I had Frostgaren and Glebe on, and they both agreed that like if you're not lane swapping in this meta, you're doing it wrong, because inner and outer turrets are at their weakest that they've ever been. And this is one of the things I like about having people on my show in a rotating fashion. I get really smart at the game each time I do the show. I would have never thought of this, but outer and inner turrets are the weakest they are, and with the type of champion pools that we're playing in top lane, minus things like Tom Kench, it's very easy to go back to the spring season 4 meta of like fast pushing turrets again.
4v0 turrets
like
again?
Yeah, like the 3v0, 4v0 fast push. So like, why pick to win lane? You're not like, yeah, they kind of had a laning phase this game, which was kind of weird, but you shouldn't be picking expecting that the other team isn't going to lane swap. And you kind of pick knowing that since the other team's going to lane swap, that like, I don't understand these picking. Like, you kind of can pick for the 2v2, but it shouldn't be your focus. Like, I don't think that I would love to know what the coaches were thinking. and what Yellow Star was thinking when he picked Bard, because 100% just looks like a style pick. I just don't like. I 100% don't agree with it at all, and I think that that's like my biggest problem with this comp.
Clearly,
Like,
it's to hard counter Elise Spider Form when she repels because you can queue into the Spiderlings and her.
Oh man,
good one,
Oh,
Serial.
that's
You
meta.
didn't-
Yeah, you
So
got
meta,
that.
Someone listens to the
next
champ select
level.
episode.
I'm sorry. I'm so bad at this analysis thing. I didn't even foresee that.
I didn't even question it too much when I watched this. This is one of the few games I watched in the entirety this weekend, and that's just because I'm a TSM fanboy a little bit. But I just didn't second guess it because a Bard is just a really, really strong pick right now, and he's overall pretty safe. I mean, looking at it a second time, you're right. There are part of things that be a little bit heavier on the disengage and whatnot, but yeah, I didn't think about it that much. My initial watch.
Yeah, I go.
Well,
I
it's
have to
also-
go
That's why
up-
you're the expert.
I'm not even an expert or an analyst. I just, because I do this show and because I write about League, what very little I do understand about the game, I have to latch on to.
Okay, here let me just throw this out here because I think this is something that a point to be made. The coaches, even in their infinite wisdom or knowledge, it's really hard to have this conversation that took us 15 minutes to have in the 30 seconds that you have, in champ select. And I mean, 15 minutes to have this conversation is great. Don't get me wrong, but I'm just saying, like that long conversation we had to get down to this point, that really wouldn't be that great of a pick in that comp. You can't have that in 30 seconds. Now, should you have that infinite knowledge? Should the entire team? No, it's the coach's job to help you pick that out and understand how the game plays. But you can't argue in champ select. And if Yellow Star and the team go, I think Bard is a good pick, they're going to do it. Now, this is all assuming that that's how the conversations are going and whatnot. But this is the type of conversation where I think a lot of teams probably need to have after the fact. Like, why wasn't Bard a good pick here? Now here's a 20-minute conversation about what we're missing and why Janna would have been better. And then you take that into the next season. I mean, granted, this is only week 1, and one loss is not going to hurt you.
No,
three new people and a new coach too.
Maybe there's something that we're not thinking about or that they took into consideration that we're not considering too.
Oh no, like I said, I admit to being the donk of my own show. Like, I'm not the smartest. I say this all the time when people when I talk to my guests. I'm like, I'm here to use my journalism degree and my interviewing skills to make you guys sound really, really smart, and for me to sound like not like an invalid. Like, you guys are gonna sound like college professors of League of Legends, and I'm going to sound like somebody who like casually goes to community college. And by casually goes to community college, like I go there because the free Wi-Fi is pretty good, and I can sit and play League in the like.
And he really
Show up
likes
for
the
tests
area.
once a month.
And she really likes the cafeteria food.
Yeah, the cafeteria food's fucking banging. I'm sorry.
Don't apologize. We're the frat house of League of Legends podcast.
Yeah, so like I'm like I don't want to like play down my game knowledge too much, but like it's not like Frostgurren or Glebe level. I just feel like the Bard pick was a little bit too much of a style pick.
Too much watching Afro and talking to Afro, thinking he
I think there was definitely a lot. I think that there was definitely. I think that Liquid played very, very well, and that made the Bard pick, that exemplified the weaknesses in the Bard pick more than probably they were expecting. I'll give them that much. I think that the way that they played the early game, Liquid, definitely highlighted some of the problems of Bard into things like Gnar and Elise and Alistair diving on top of your Ezreal repeatedly.
So question going back to the I guess now 15 minutes ago, 20 minutes ago, when we first started covering LCS, do you think they're gonna be ninth? Is that are you backing up your friend on that one, or is it because they looked good for a while, but
so my issue with Liquid is that they had this pretty solid lead, right? They lost with a gold lead. Let's put it that way. When the game got turned around, right? When the game got turned around, which let's say is right around that sombrero, that really awkward thing that happened.
Sombrero, what we're talking about is the Orianna protecting herself and flash ulting on top of a team and just whiffing.
Yeah,
just so everyone knows.
That was at 41 minutes, and they had a 4.8 gold lead, which isn't insurmountable, but it's pretty high in this meta, right? And then they proceeded to lose the game off of that, and they lost with a 553 gold lead. So like, that's how much the tower, when you add up all the towers being taken in the process, that's what all that gold was.
It's the power play. It's the
power play.
Baron power play.
Well, no,
Well,
that's the game that Liquid had. Well, yeah, they
It's
had that
1500.
shitty. What's it? Liquid had like the really shitty Baron power play. I think that game. It was like
1300.
1,000. Yeah, it was like super insignificant compared to what we had been seeing, and then, then it just got flipped around gold wise real quick.
So I don't want to say, I do think. So this lineup, right? The Luo, Dardoch, Phoenix, Piglet, Matt lineup looks pretty strong. Like it looks a lot stronger than say the Piglet, Smoothie, I will dominate Phoenix, Luro lineup. So maybe not ninth, but I don't see them breaking past. I think that they're a relegation fighting team. I don't think that they're that great. I think that this was more TSM's game to lose, and very much kind of to quote Skara, Liquid was looking like they were winning until they lost.
They tried real hard to lose. TSM tried real hard to lose it, and then just said, "Oh, okay, I guess we can."
Someone's gonna lose the
tried
game.
hard enough.
Team Liquid kept on giving him opportunities to stay in the game and get back in the game.
That was one of the other things that I remember the analysts talking about, and I agreed with that. Like, Liquid repeatedly gave them like ways to beat them.
Yeah.
And TSM didn't capitalize, and I think that's more TSM's roster not being a well-oiled machine yet, and not how strong Liquid is. Because you have to remember that even with the Quas leaving the team situation, and the deciding to do the 10-man roster, and them getting a coach pretty late, because remember they were trying out a bunch of coaches and none of them worked, so they had to go with Lokodoku, who they originally signed on only to be a content creator. This Liquid roster has been together a lot longer and hopefully practicing a lot longer than some of these other teams that went to like IEMs and stuff. Right? Like this this TSM roster's technically only been together for like a month, whereas like this Liquid roster's been effectively together the entire offseason. So,
well, we'll just have to wait it out and see how the cookie crumbles, I would say, or the something. There's a good idiom here that I'm missing that I can't think of off the top of my head.
Any other idiom?
We're going to see the way the cookie crumbles as the LCS comes to head at the end of the season. I also will give it to a lot of these teams. So some of them will turn it around as the meta evolves, and we've seen that. We saw that with C9 and everybody last season coming from bottom of the pack to top, and go into the qualifiers go into Worlds.
Yeah, there's always some team that starts 0-3 and then ends in top 4.
Yeah, in fairness, one of the things about that TSM's Cloud9 Cinderella run is that it was helped by the fact that pretty much every other team was self-destructing.
That does help.
At the same time. Like, Liquid was self-destructing. Team Impulse was self-destructing. Gravity was like... I don't know what happened to Gravity, but Gravity was self-destructing. Like, it took C9... Like, C9 played effectively the same number of games in one weekend that they played all season. Like, there was a lot of factors that helped that C9 team out. Mm-hmm. Whereas, like, if one of those squads wasn't self-destructing, we wouldn't have heard the Cinderella story. It would have been, they gave it the old college try.
I hate to do this to you, but we got to start wrapping this up because, unfortunately, I have another meeting at 9:00, and I think we've gone out quite a bit up and above beyond what the proper is supposed to talk about. But I'm very happy to let people showcase what you can do and what you can talk about. And
that was analysis.
Yeah.
This is what I have to do on that Analyst Desk show.
I was about to say, so that the reason we did that last half an hour is to show people what it would be like to sit on the Analyst Desk, and hopefully with people that are a little bit more knowledgeable than the rest of us, because we focus more on the solo queue meta than we do on the professional meta. So
so how you guys living that Poppy then?
I love it. Dude, support Poppy is awesome. I love support Poppy.
Poppy's good in any role.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, any rule.
She hard counters my Corki, so I don't like it.
But Amanda, why don't you tell us where you can find you, the Analyst Desk, and where they can find you at?
You can find me at Sagenosis. That's SAGEGNOSIS. That's how you can find me pretty much everywhere: Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, everywhere. You can find the Analyst Desk on iTunes, Stitcher Radio by just searching the Analyst Desk, and you can also find it at its home base at soundcloud.com/the Analyst Desk. One word.
There you go. Also, you can search the Analyst Desk podcast into Google. That's how I found it when I was searching for it, doing a little bit of.
Didn't I link
homework.
it to you?
Yeah, you did, but I also searched for it today because going through my notes is harder than typing out the Analyst Desk podcast sometimes.
I'm sorry, that's a very long title.
It's not too bad. But I think that's going to pretty much wrap it up. Thank you, Amanda, for coming on the show tonight. We appreciate it. We've had an exciting last 30 minutes talking about some LCS.
As I just sit and make all the TSM fanboys salty and Liquid fanboys.
They're going to get really salty after this because up next is the LCS rundown where they're probably going to get salty on hopefully in those games as well. So, guys, that was episode number 327 of the Trinity Force podcast. You guys can catch us for 328 on Wednesday. They're going to go over masteries. They're going to go over patch 6.1 a little bit more. They're going to talk about their feelings of 6.1, a little bit fiddlesticks. Some Death's Dance will be in there as well.
That's all we're covering.
Death's Dance.
And hopefully Taladasti joins us as well for that episode. So, guys, thank you so much for joining us. We will see you all on Wednesday. Peace.
See ya.
See ya.